Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video. Today's video, we are going to be talking about some things that I think that everyone considers when thinking about moving to the area, whether that be pool maintenance, AC maintenance, HOA rules and regulations when it comes to like maybe garage sales or maybe parties. So if that's something that you're interested in, keep watching. Now, if you are new here, hello, my name is Brandy, your desert girl and real estate matchmaker for the Palm Springs and Palm Desert area. If you're relocating or hunting for that perfect desert home, I've got you. I'm born and raised here, and I help my clients avoid the rookie mistakes and find homes that truly fit their lifestyle. Shoot me a message if you're thinking about making a move, and don't forget to subscribe to stay in the loop on all things desert living. The post that I had posted on my YouTube was basically 4 different YouTube titles that I think would be great to do future videos on, and I had everyone vote. I like to do this because sometimes I'm like, I have so many ideas in my head, and to just focus on one, I'm like, I need your help. So the first one was Desert Living Essentials, must-have products to thrive in the heat, and I think that this would be a really fun video for me to do, and then to also help anyone who's considering moving out here to the valley, be here full-time. Like, these are things that I use all the time. I keep them in my car, and I absolutely cannot live without them. It's like an Amazon video, and I just thought it would be really fun. Another video would be relocating from the Pacific Northwest to the desert and what you need to know before you do that. Like, a lot of people ask about the orientation about your backyard and how that is an important factor if you want to be comfortable in your backyard in the afternoon in the summer. Another one was the hidden gems of the Coachella Valley, and this one actually got more votes than any of the other videos, so this is obviously my next video to do. And then the last one was finding your dream home in the desert, key features to look for, and that was actually got the second most votes. Now, again, I had quite a few questions, specifically from Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise, whoever you are. Thank you for your support and thank you for commenting. You had some really great questions, so that's why I'm here to just kind of answer these and try to keep this as short and quick as possible, even though I tend to ramble, because, you know, if I know anything about these days, not many people have like really long-term attention spans, right? She or they were saying that they watch a lot of Coachella Valley and Palm Springs videos, which I get. I'm not the only one that does videos out here. This person said that the subjects mentions have been done many times over, and I would really like to see this. So I'll just go over the question. So this first question was what to look for and expect from a quality pool maintenance person, including expected fees and what services are a must and which are just an oversell. I would say things like chlorine and salt. You don't have to change your chlorine pool to a saltwater pool. It is not a must-have thing. It's more of like a luxury. And it's actually very easy to switch your chlorine pool over to a saltwater pool. Your pool person is just going to get a salt cell, which is literally maybe like that big. It's not that big. They hook it up to the pool equipment, and then they fill your pool with these salt packages, and you can't really use your pool for probably 24 hours, maybe 48 hours, while the salt mixes with the chlorine, and the filter just kind of filters everything through, and your salt cell is going to be there to monitor your salt content, whether it needs more salt or if it's over salted. And this is something that your pool maintenance person should be keeping an eye on. Regular maintenance checks. If your filter is leaking, it's actually really common for your filters to leak, but also a very easy fix. So if you have a pool person who is coming out weekly, as they should, your pool person should be coming out weekly to filter out your pool, clean out debris, and clean out the filters, and you're noticing that your pool equipment is leaking, then your pool person is not probably maintaining or keeping an eye on your equipment, and that should be a definite red flag. So your pool person is going to be coming to your house once a week, at least once a week. And if you need an additional service, like let's say we get a dust storm or it's windy and you get a lot of those bougainvillea leaves in your pool, then that's going to be an extra cost if they have to come over again. And generally speaking, that once a week service is going to cost you anywhere between $150 to about $200 a month. So if you have someone that's coming out and saying that, oh, we only come twice a month or every other week, and they still want to charge you that same amount, no, they need to come out once a week in the desert heat to check on your pool and to clean it out. So their duties are going to include skimming, brushing the walls, vacuuming if needed, and emptying the skimmer and pump baskets. And just like I said, monitoring your equipment to make sure it's not leaking. The gasket around the pool filter actually leaks all the time. It's a very common thing that we see, and it's actually a really easy fix as well, because what happens is the sun typically beats on your pool equipment and the gasket just deteriorates over time. I would say one of the other things that's probably more of an upsell would be a pool cooler. Because it does get hot during the summer, and generally speaking, your pool is going to be in the sun all day long and it just heats up naturally. And I've heard some people say that their pool eventually just becomes like bath water and it's just not as refreshing. And so, but I don't think that's necessary to have a pool and to like be comfortable in your pool. I have been in a pool in the midsummer and it's perfect. It really just comes down to preference. Is that something that you really think that you're going to use in the summer, like the pool cooler, and if you actually absolutely need it? And you could easily experience your pool for one summer, and if you feel it's just like bath water and it's just not refreshing whatsoever, then the next year add a pool cooler. And there's tons of different options out there. And to add a pool cooler, probably anywhere from like $2,000 to like $8,000 is what I'm seeing. And then your pool heater is something that you will definitely use. People often forget that it does get cold out here. We do get in the 40s at night, and so you will be using your pool heater during the winter. And for the most part, pool heaters can last anywhere from like 20 to like 25 years. So they last probably about the same as your AC systems out here. That's definitely something that you're going to want to maintain and just kind of keep an eye on. Also, just FYI, if you were to get a pool with a pool heater, and which most pools have pool heaters. If you were to get a pool in the desert, your pool equipment is covered under your home warranty, which is oftentimes, it is negotiable, paid by the seller. And just pro tip, if you absolutely need to replace your pool heater, it looks like you definitely need to have your pool person inspect the filter system and the automation panel, because updated pool heaters often want updated equipment as well. And that's why it can get a little pricey. The upsell there, I think, is the pool chiller. Have your pool for the first summer, see how it feels, and if you feel it's necessary for the next year, then get it. And what to expect from a good AC person. And we have a plethora of AC companies out here in the desert, and I see them everywhere all the time. Oftentimes I work 24 hours, because when you lose power at like 3 o'clock in the morning and it's 90 degrees outside still, it's not fun. And so a lot of them operate on emergency basis as well. So for your AC, you definitely just want to get it maintenanced at least once a year before summertime, when you're planning on using it non-stop to be cool. And just like any other contractor, any other pool person, if they're flat out telling you like you need a new system, that's probably not the case, and like always get a second opinion, because for the most part, AC systems out here, they can run anywhere between 15 to 20 years. Depends on the system, depends on the upkeep and the maintenance, and how oftentimes the person has changed out the filters. And that's another thing. You want to change out your AC filters inside your home at least once every 3 months. Some people who struggle with really bad allergies probably do their AC filters, like if you say you have dogs and you have allergies, which if you have a dog and you have allergies, maybe you shouldn't have dogs, but you know, I'm one of those people where I love dogs, and even if I had an allergy, I would still have them. So, but your filter, your AC filter, the one that's inside that goes in the intake, you definitely want to change that out every 3 months, every once a month if you're someone that struggles with a lot of allergies. Another red flag or oversell tactics would be like your duct cleaning. That's pretty uncommon, and it's pushed as essential, but unless you have mold or pest issues, this is typically unnecessary. So if anyone's saying that you absolutely need duct cleaning, you probably don't. Again, second opinion. And then some companies do this thing where they have monthly maintenance programs. Absolutely not necessary whatsoever. You do not need to have an AC come out once a month. The only people that you need to come out several times a month would be like your pest person to spray around your property for pests, and then your pool maintenance person. But you do not need to have your AC tech coming out once a month. Once a year, twice a year would be great to set it up for summertime use, and then to kind of set it down for the wintertime use when you're not using it. So your seasonal maintenance can really range, and that just depends on your unit. I've seen anywhere from like maybe $150 to about $350 to have them come out and just make sure everything is clean, working properly, changing your filters, checking your condenser and your furnace and all of that fun stuff. So it's not too expensive, and again, it's vital to the longevity of your AC unit, and you absolutely, it's just highly, highly, highly suggested. You don't have to do it, but if you want to maintain your unit, knowing that replacing an entire AC unit is probably going to be like 8 to 10 grand, if you want to not spend that sort of money, then maintain and maintenance your units. I feel like that was a lot of information on pools and AC, but those are like, I guess, the two biggest maintenance factors to consider when relocating to the desert: your pool equipment and your AC equipment. Another question that they had would be, what cities/areas have the most owner-occupied neighborhoods? I don't mind making a buck from flipping a house, but I would be more inclined to move where there are long-term neighbors rather than having a constant revolving door neighborhood. This is really tough because we are known for vacation homes, resort-like living. It's a very tourist area, so it's really difficult to just hone in on an area that has every single person around you that's full-time. I would say that's near impossible to do. If you want more of like the working family where you get to know your neighbors, maybe like La Quinta Indio area. If you're looking for that, like in Palm Springs, that might be a little bit more challenging, and that is because of the short-term rentals, and there are gonna be a more revolving door of people and neighbors. So if you're like looking for that like get to know your neighbor type of vibe, I would say more Cathedral City, Palm Desert, La Quinta, and Indio. That's mainly because these cities, with the exception of Indio, do not allow short-term rentals. So some of the communities that do allow short-term rentals in Indio would be like Indian Palms and Terra Lago. And those two communities, like I said, they allow short-term rentals, so they're gonna have more of like the revolving door of neighbors around you. And I live in an area where, for the most part, everyone around me is a homeowner and they live there full time. I do have one house across the street from me that is a rental, and then I have another house that is a person from Seattle, and I hardly ever see them. And you're just gonna have that wherever you live in the desert. You just can't hone in on a neighborhood specifically that's strictly full-time people, because it's just not gonna happen. And generally speaking, the people who are part-time in the desert are gonna be about 40 to 60% in any community. The higher communities with a higher ratio of vacation home people or snowbirds are gonna be like the 55 and older communities, the retirees, right? Because they live in that snowbird lifestyle. The ones that are gonna be like on the 40% range are gonna be like non-gated communities, in like La Quinta Cove, and then parts of La Quinta, and then parts of Indio and Palm Desert. So finding a strictly full-time residential neighborhood is going to be a challenge, but can you find a neighborhood where there's maybe slightly more or slightly less? Like, yeah, I would say the 55 and older communities have slightly more seasonal people than the communities that are more like affordable: Palm Desert Country Club, La Quinta Cove, parts of Indio, parts of North Indio, where they're gated communities that I don't allow short-term rentals. Those are gonna be more of your full-time people. Next one is, what are the rules and regulations and restrictions on having a home-based business, and which are the most welcomed home-based businesses? And I have not personally heard of anyone operating a business outside of their house that has been shut down, or like they shouldn't be. It's actually kind of common out here to not have a storefront, like a brick and mortar, because of how expensive it is. So you have some people who will make charcuterie boards or tacos, and people will go and get those products from that person's house. This happens, I think, everywhere, just based on how expensive it is to own a brick and mortar business. But every area is gonna have its own zoning requirements and like permits. And I can tell you now, ain't no one's listening or abiding by these rules. And then if you have a home-based business where you're working from home, working for a business, there is absolutely no restrictions for that. If you're just simply working out of your home and your business, your employer is based in like LA or New York, no one's gonna bother you unless you're maybe have clients coming in and out of your property. But again, like for the most part, people are generally not that nosy here, because everyone's just, I don't know, this is just my perception and how I have lived my life and seen things in the desert. Everyone just kind of like is kind and nice and just lets people do their thing, unless they're like a nuisance. Then it's different. And then, I mean, if you want to like abide by state and local laws, like you can get a permit. There's different classes if you want to sell food outside of your home. But for the most part, no one's listening to this. I can guarantee there's no one. You have, freelance workers, artists, maybe psychics that do things out of their homes. And if you're in a non-gated community, no one cares. No one's going to say anything. If you're in an HOA community, you have people coming and going, and maybe that neighbor's going to wonder what's going on. That might be a little different because that person might feel uncomfortable with people coming and going inside their community, or maybe they're parking in front of their driveway or in front of their house, and it just making them a little uncomfortable. And I think that could really happen anywhere, but there's definitely going to be rules and regulations inside gated communities. But again, no one's really going to tattle on you as long as you're being respectful to your neighbors. So the ones that are like a risky or often restricted operations or businesses would be like childcares and daycares, high customer traffic storage, and then low quality, low acidity foods like dairies and meats and things like that. And I think to sell meats outside your property is probably extremely dangerous, and personally, I wouldn't go to someone who's selling meats outside of their home. We have plenty of grocery stores for that. Some of the things that my research is saying is that, for the most part, every city supports low-impact, professional home-based businesses. So as long as there's no, customer traffic or visible storefronts, like no one has a sign on their garage that says "buy bread here" or "buy cheese here," like that you can't do because that's considered advertising. The next one is what are the rules on garage sales, estate sales, and even on having birthday party gatherings, not the wild and crazy kind, at a non-HOA home? These are just some of the subjects I've thought about but don't really see being covered. So garage sales in a non-HOA community all the time, happen every weekend. You can put out signs. Garage sale signs happen everywhere. If you're in a gated community, you can't do that. Generally, the HOA communities have community garage sales where all the homeowners will gather and do garage sales off of their driveway, but it'll be a community involvement type of thing, not just like a one-off. And then, they keep the gates open so the public can come in and they advertise it and all that fun stuff. But if you're in an HOA community, you can't just like willy-nilly have a garage sale. In a non-HOA community, it's so easy to have birthday gatherings. People do it all the time, and unfortunately some neighbors are more considerate than others because you have a lot of people that like to play really loud music. I know of a good friend of mine who, unfortunately, their neighbor has a band in their backyard at least once a month, and that I just think is really inconsiderate and not respectful to your neighbors whatsoever. And there are noise ordinances everywhere you go. Typically, I believe on the weekends it's 10 p.m. and then during the week it's 9. And so if anyone is having super obnoxious loud music at 10 p.m. at night, I always suggest that you call the non-emergency police line and tell them what's going on. Guaranteed, you are not the only one that has complained about the music. And unfortunately, it just kind of depends on how busy the police department is, on how quickly they're going to get there, or if they're going to get there at all. I was a kid living in Palm Springs in a non-gated area. I had a neighbor who would play loud music, and I remember having to call the non-emergency line all the time, and sometimes the cops would show and sometimes the cops wouldn't show. But it was just a common occurrence, and can't really stop people, and no one wants to start a neighbor war with their neighbors because you have to live next to these people, right? But if you want to have like a low-key birthday party with kids, I mean, that happens all the time. All the time, absolutely. No restrictions with that. You want to have a pool party during the day, maybe have some music playing, not crazy too loud. You're not going to have any issues with that. You can have pool parties, birthday parties, really anything, as long as you're just not being obnoxious and you're not blocking anyone's driveway or parking somewhere where you really shouldn't be parking. You're going to be more restricted in an HOA, obviously. If you want to have a party, a big gathering of people and you want to play loud music, it'll get shut down very quickly, especially if you're in a guard gated area. Your neighbors are going to complain because people live in gated HOA communities for a reason. They're more secure, they're more quiet, most people think. So you just can't do the same things in an HOA community that you can in a non-HOA community. There's just two different things. And then the last one would be, how much does home insurance and pool service cost for an average home in La Quinta? So your homeowner's insurance is obviously going to depend on a wide variety of different factors. And I reached out to someone who works at AAA. He's a very good friend of mine. So if anyone needs an insurance person, I always recommend him to my clients. He can help you when it comes to homeowners insurance. He's awesome and he's local. He said, general pool home in the area, single family, about 2,000 square feet, you're talking about $1,800 a year. And so that's going to be your average, probably, $1,800, about $2,200 a year, depending on the things that you want insured and how much your coverage you want. And then I touched on pool service already. So, and for the most part, it's going to be anywhere from $150 to about $200 a month, depending on the pool size, type of equipment, and all that fun stuff. So this was my ramble video. At this point, I've got 34 minutes on the camera here, but I will snippet this down and hopefully it'll be a quick one. If you're still here, comment below. Let me know if there's any questions that I did not touch on that you have more questions about or just want clarity. Let me know. I tend to ramble and sometimes I talk realtor and I don't realize that I'm doing that. But again, this is Brandy, your desert girl and real estate matchmaker. If you are looking to relocate here, find your desert vacation home in the desert, I would love to talk with you. I'm born and raised here and I absolutely love where I live, even when it's 120 degrees outside, because I am comfortable inside my office or inside my home or inside the grocery store, inside the Costco freezer, because that's where it's the coolest if you need to cool off. So if you want to get a hold of me, contact information is below and I will see you on my next video.